Hello and welcome to Destiny Cycles Research. My name is Dr. Randall Hardy, and today let's talk about Pluto's visit into Aquarius starting in 2023. I love astrology, as you can see. Astrology has been around for a very long time. This ancient technique has been used to predict the rise and fall of empires and royalty, as well as shedding light on the evolution and destiny of humanity. As the planets do their dance in the sky, they mirror events here on Earth. That's why astrology makes such a good predictive tool that can strategically be used to look at future trends. Named after the Roman god of the underworld, also known as Hades in Greek mythology, Pluto is a planet of intensity, destruction, transformation, and rebirth. In a sense, Pluto is like the phoenix, burning down what does not work in order to rise again, renewed. Plutonian energy is very often challenging, bringing forth dramatic and painful experiences in order to shed light on truth and bring us incredibly profound growth. Because Pluto moves so slowly, its energy defines the problems and challenges of entire generations, and on both a cultural and personal level. For this reason, it's known as a generational planet. Pluto spends about 12 to 31 years in each zodiac sign and takes approximately 248 years to transit through all the zodiac signs. On one hand, Pluto can provide tremendous opportunities for regeneration, new beginnings, and spiritual growth. However, the difficult aspects of this mighty planet often leads to obsession, victimization, domination, power struggles, tyrannical control, war, and death. Pluto is known as the highest octave of Mars and rules the zodiac sign of Scorpio. At this time, it would be somewhat speculative to say what Pluto will be specifically like in Aquarius, but looking back at events hundreds of years ago when this phenomena last occurred, we can say that change and transformations through large social and collective movements will most likely happen. Currently, and until 2024, Pluto resides in the Capricorn zodiac sign, although it does go briefly close to and in and out of the sign of Aquarius before this time period. For example, Pluto transits into the sign of Aquarius briefly in the spring of 2023 and then fully enters it on January 21st, 2024. Let's look briefly at the zodiac signs Pluto traveled through recently to give you an idea of past Plutonic issues when they traveled through the signs of Sagittarius and Capricorn. Pluto was in Sagittarius from January 1995 to November 2008. When Pluto was in Sagittarius, part of the ninth sector of wisdom, law, both man-made and spiritual, beliefs of all sorts, higher education, publishing, and world affairs, the internet was born at this time. September the 11th, 2001 changed the entire world. This period saw parallel religious, philosophical polarization and extremism among Muslims, Christians, and new atheists, especially in the wake of the 9/11 attacks on the USA. Centers of knowledge like encyclopedias, libraries, and newspapers fundamentally transformed and globally digitized through the information superhighway, also known as the internet. Print media, books, they were replaced by Kindles and PDFs, and the encyclopedia was replaced by projects like Wikipedia. This was the area of the dot-com boom when internet startups eventually became the monolithic corporate overlords of today who know far too much about us, such as Google and Facebook. Knowledge is power, and during this time period we saw that it can be abused as we witnessed more extremism and fundamentalism in the general populations, and governments used this reason to overreach its influence over its peoples. Do you remember what shifted in your life during this time that Pluto was transiting through Sagittarius? Did you change any of your beliefs or viewpoints? Were you called upon to examine issues of truth versus dogma? Pluto is in Capricorn from January 2008 to November 2004. With Pluto currently in Capricorn, we've seen the surprise of Brexit, Barack Obama becoming president of the USA, and we all experienced a major shift in the political climate around the world. You see, Capricorn represents part of the 10th sector in astrology, which can be attributed to big business, the status quo, the patriarchy. Capricorn is a sign that represents time and responsibility because it is ruled by Saturn. Saturn, and therefore the sign of Capricorn, is also about authenticity, realness, and honesty. Saturn also rules the wisdom of old age. Therefore, Capricorn tends to be a sign that's very aware of what's timeless and what's just passing through. Saturn Capricorn gives structure and stability, but this transformation is resisted because of a tendency to cling to the old and a propensity to carefully and prudently make changes, which tends to make them even more powerful when they break through. During this period, Pluto has exposed abuses of power, including that of the patriarchal archetype, which desires to dominate in areas of power and money, women's issues, and unfettered capitalism. Pluto in Capricorn has caused many other ugly truths to bubble to the surface, resulting in the downfall of corporations and people in power that have refused to evolve. Society can only resist transformation for so long. Pluto is a planet of contradiction. It represents creation and destruction. It tears down things that are no longer working and replaces the outdated ways of thinking with evolutionary views. It also represents renewal and rebirth, changing ideology to align with the current times. When people don't want to evolve along with it, we see societal upheavals. When we look back historically, when the 1762 to 1778 Pluto in Capricorn featured the beginning of the American Revolution, a time when Britain, the most powerful empire in the world at that time, was taken down a peg and a new power arose. The current 2008 to 2004 Capricorn period has so far all been entrenched into powers who get rattled along with the challenge of the planet Uranus over the course of the 2008 economic crash, Occupy Wall Street, the Arab Spring, Wikipedia, Edward Snowden, Brexit, the 2016 election. These are all examples of this Pluto and Capricorn sojourn. So all around the world, governments have been moving towards corruption and crony capitalism, oligarchs and authoritarianism. So the 1% has the most to lose and the 99% has the most to gain during this period. This has played out time and time again since 2008, when people and systems are being exposed for their dishonesties and abuses of power. Individually, like Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme came to light in December 2008, for instance, and through movements such as the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements. The pandemic has made our calls for justice that much louder. People are demanding change. Now let's talk about the main topic of this video, Pluto entering the zodiacal sign of Aquarius. This generation hasn't been born yet, but the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, social and political revolutions happened across Europe and the Americas. Traditionally, Pluto in Aquarius is considered to be unfavorably placed. In my 12th sector associative astrological approach, Pluto and Aquarius challenge each other as each is fixed, meaning they resist change for different reasons. So Aquarius is a mature air sign. Thinking and communication are dominant. They have the ability to see situations from an intellectual perspective without being clouded by emotion. On the other hand, Pluto belongs to the water element, pure raw emotion, personal, deep, and intense. Can you see the possible conflict here? Transformation as demanded by Pluto in the indifferent and unconventional sign of Aquarius with respect to potentially emotionally charged social issues. This concept is worth repeating in another way. Pluto and Aquarius are both fixed entities not given to flexibility or compromise. Both are also symbolic of dramatic transformation that is forced to occur. Equally, these archetypes are associated with two vastly different elements, water and air, that do not mix easily. They have vastly different agendas and perceptions. Aquarius is scientific and rational, an air sign, while Pluto is connected to the depth of the water element, which feels things internally and deeply and seeks to maintain control and power. Whenever water and air come together, there is an agitating, stirring, aerating, bubbling up of forces. Because Aquarius rules groups of people and society represents a large group of people, we can say that Aquarius rules society as a whole. Society is a sum of all individuals, including their interactions with each other. So Aquarius has two ruling planets. One is Saturn, the traditional ruler, and Uranus, the modern ruler. Saturn gives Aquarius an interest in policy making and a focus on building solid foundations for the future. The independence of Uranus paired with the grand thinking of Aquarius encourages us to be more open-minded and change-oriented, to see things differently. On a side note, before Pluto shifts into Aquarius, Saturn will pave the way. Saturn will be in Aquarius from the 22nd of March 2020 until the 8th of March 2023, reframing political objectives to a more principled, progressive, and forward-thinking agenda. Saturn makes us look very hard at the issues we face as human beings, and we see what needs to be fixed or repaired. There are likely to be drastic changes in the social, intellectual, and relationship areas of our lives and between various identity groups. This will be a time of major social changes that could reach to the very core of our historically shared ideals, and many people will push back because they don't want to conform to the regular world order and will rebel against the years of established norms in society. Power struggles can be a way of learning to balance individual identity within the group. Once again, Pluto is the planet of transformation, and Aquarius is the sign of progress. We better believe that once Pluto transits through Aquarius, life as we know it will be a thing of the past. When astrologers say Pluto is the sign of transformation, we mean serious transformation. The last time that transformative Pluto moved through the sign of Aquarius, the people of France revolted against their dictatorial and extravagant monarchy on July 14, 1789, and stormed the Bastille, starting the French Revolution. Mobs of people projected their repressions back upon those in power. Equality, liberty, and fraternity was the Aquarian catch cry of the day. Now we are entering a period of human history where a similar cry for freedom and equality is echoing across the globe. But we have to be alert to those people who will use the banner of freedom to push their own selfish agendas of greed, control, and power to society's detriment. Think back to the French Revolution. It failed to achieve all of its goals, and at times degenerated into a chaotic bloodbath because the leaders became the very people they fought against and detested. Although the conflict played a critical role in shaping modern nations by showing the world the power inherent in the will of the people, it did not represent the real values that the citizens fought and died for. In this coming time period, we may find that there is a surge of new ideas that confront the powers that be. This era is intrinsic to scientific, social, and political revolution, new scientific discoveries that revolutionizes the economic system. They're set to alter the social order and transform our world. These planets inherently going through Aquarius is against likely to bring about systemic reform to corrupt institutions. In order to sustain equality and freedom, people will be willing to stand up against powerful leaders who they perceive as threatening their survival and free expression. Groups and communities are set to rise up against entrenched political powers and institutions that have sought to control and manipulate the populace. What emerges is a striking and permanent shift in the balance of power. With Pluto shifting into Aquarius, a totally new set of values is emerging. Younger generations in particular, all over the world, are keenly aware of the many global issues we face. More and more we are witnessing people take to the streets in protest against the lack of leadership on important matters like climate change and the environment. And it's likely that these protests will gain political traction as we move into this new Aquarian era where human rights and the future of humanity will be uppermost in our collective mind. Group sharing and cooperatives are likely to flourish, and today there are many people who suffer appalling working conditions, and not to mention those who are unable to find work, who are homeless or otherwise disadvantaged. Pluto in Aquarius will overhaul the workforce as artificial intelligence makes for more job redundancies as new digital technologies are rolled out. For many years, the rich have been getting richer, which has exposed the lie of trickle-down economic policies. So Pluto in Aquarius is set to shake the foundations of our social structures as fossil fuels are mothballed and the green economy seeds the growth of sustainable practices. Don't be surprised if Pluto in Aquarius creates a groundswell of protest against poverty and inequality. In the long run, Pluto in Aquarius will bring about a more and equitable system while also creating a swath of new employment opportunities. Generally speaking, what can each of us do to help move along the principles of fairness and equality along in light of the powerful changes that are coming? If authoritarianism rises, how do we push back? Indeed, when Pluto strikes, we often feel we have no say and that we are at the mercy of powers greater than ourselves. Within Pluto, the secret is to bring forth the values, beliefs, and spiritual principles that have stood the test of time through the ages and trust in the wisdom and workings of the universe. Pluto in Aquarius will help you find your true power, not a power that seeks to control, take advantage of, and win, but a power that seeks to express one's truth in a way that serves the best interests of humanity at large. Pluto in Aquarius will initially expose what is no longer working in our society and for each of us individually, because this is how Pluto operates. It purges what's toxic and is no longer needed. Like with any Pluto transit, it may not be pretty at first. Think when Pluto first came close to the sign of Aquarius in March, April, May, and June of 2020, that signaled the beginning spark of the coronavirus pandemic and all of the troubles that came with it. But this process of a complete overhaul of the very fabric of our society is very much needed, and it will totally be worth the intrusive workings of Plutonic transformation. The result, a more resilient, autonomous society that can self-regulate and quickly adapt to circumstances. You know that endings are also beginnings, and sometimes something must pass away for something new to be born. The trick here is to surrender to what's good, what's right for you and your values, and also honoring those good people who do not share your values but are good people nonetheless. Do what you must and listen to your inner voice. The overall theme here is that freedom doesn't always mean that we get to do whatever we want, whenever we want, without thinking of others who also live on this planet. Booking in an astrological consultation may be the next step for you to see how Pluto in Aquarius will affect you personally. I think you may find it may well be worth it.